the channel, and welcome to our video talking about what it's like re-gearing the 3rd gen Toyota Tacoma. This has been something that's been on my list for quite some time, and I never really understood the point of re-gearing a truck until I started doing a lot more research and actually noticing things with my Tacoma that I saw being a very common issue. If you don't own a 3rd gen Tacoma, one of the most common things is the vehicle hunting gears, especially when out on the highway. So I'm out on the highway right now, so I can film this video and try to show exactly what I'm talking about. But basically, in the 3rd gen Tacoma, this is a 6-speed automatic, or you can get a 6-speed manual, which does have a different gearing ratio. But for the 6-speed automatic, 5th and 6th gear are really overdrive gears, and so the truck hardly ever uses 6th gear. You have to be going around 70 miles an hour going downhill for the truck to actually shift into 6th gear. The gearing ratio for the 6-speed automatic is a 3.91, I believe. For the manual version, it's a 418. So you get a little bit gearing ratio in the manual, even though with sales, the automatic is more popular. It'd be awesome to drive a manual. If you own a manual Tacoma, do you have that issue? Well, you wouldn't have that issue because you're shifting gears yourself. But in the automatic here, 6th gear, like I said, is never really used. Going around 70 miles an hour, you're running around 1700 RPM, which is just not high enough for 6th gear to engage. So the minute you get into 6th gear, you're automatically back down to 5th because there's not enough, or the gear is not long enough for you to utilize 6th gear. And one thing that absolutely drove me crazy was putting the truck, putting cruise control on for the truck, and it just hunts gears even more. It's not very pleasant to drive in cruise control when it's constantly going 5th to 4th, 5th to 4th, 5th to 4th, and not utilizing 6th gear. So I hardly ever drive this truck with cruise control on for that reason alone. And one thing the truck would do a lot going from 5th to 4th is I would be jumping well over 3,000 RPM. So I would probably be around 3,500, maybe a little bit more, depending on the hill that I'm going up and the speed that I'm going out on the highway. So the truck would always jump over 3,000 RPM. With a stock exhaust, that's probably fine. You're going to hear a lot more of the engine. I have an aftermarket exhaust. You know, obviously I changed that myself. But going over 3,000 out on the highway, it can be a little bit loud, a little bit annoying, especially if it's constant. I don't live in an area where it's just a flat highway all the time. I've been going up and down hills as I've been talking and filming right now. So that was something that really got annoying for me, is the truck would downshift from 5th gear to 4th gear, going 70 miles an hour. 4th gear gives you higher RPM, and it just wasn't pleasant to drive. Like, I love this truck, don't get me wrong. It's my 2nd Tacoma. If you're new to the channel, I'm not getting rid of it. I'm not gonna let it shifting a little bit like that be something to get rid of the truck. So don't think I'm hating the truck for that reason. But once you start to drive it, once you start to understand that it's not in 6th gear, because right now I'm just looking at D on the gauge cluster there. If I pop it over right now, we did go down to 4th gear. I can shift up to 5th, and then I'll go ahead and pop it into 6th, and you'll actually see it shift into 6th gear. Most of the time with these stock gears, I would keep pushing on plus, keep going, come on, where's 6th, where's 6th? And it would just never get to 6th. So I'm actually cruising in 6th gear right now. I am going 66 miles an hour according to my speedometer here. Now I do have, with the larger tires, I am off a little bit. So we are probably close to 70 miles an hour right now. Running 6th gear, going up a slight incline, I am at around 2,300 RPM. I have never seen that in 6th gear at all with the stock gearing. So I am thoroughly impressed with the re-gearing that I did. I went with the 5.29 gear ratio. If you guys didn't see my install video, I'll have that in the description if you'd like to see that whole process. Honestly, it really wasn't all that bad. I was more nervous before than I am now because everything went smooth, which was awesome. But I'm running the 5.29 gear ratio. There's 2 different gearing ratios for the Tacoma, the 488s or the 5.29s. So if you want to run the 488s, basically you're going to have a stock truck. You're going to have stock tires, not much weight or anything added to the truck. It's basically going to be stock. So according to Nitro Gear, which is where I got these gears from, they state that the 488s on a stock truck going 70 miles an hour, you'll be running right around 2200 RPM, which is where I am right now with 5.29s and my 33-inch tires. So if you want that same or those same results in a stock truck, go with the 488s. The reason that I went up to the 5.29s is because I do have some weight added to the truck. It's not a significant amount of weight with my bumpers, rock rails, but it's a good bit of weight. And then I do have 33-inch tires. I do plan on going up in size just a little bit. So I went with the 5.29s to better prepare for larger tires. They're obviously going to weigh more, and they'll be able to turn those tires a lot easier than 488s. Now you could probably go with 488s, but if you're adding a lot of weight to the truck, I would say just go with the 5.29s. And I haven't really noticed, as far as like slamming on the gas or, you know, giving it a lot of gas, has the truck really got a lot more power from these gears? Haven't really noticed that yet. I'm gonna show you putting on cruise control to show that it goes from 6th to 5th gear, because I love how this truck drives now. It's just so crazy to see what gearing can do. Now the 3rd gen Tacoma gets a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of hate, but a lot of people think that it's the engine. It's underpowered. It doesn't have enough power to really do anything. And yes, it's not, you know, it's not designed to go 0 to 60. It doesn't have a crazy amount of power. Let's go ahead and pass this 18-wheeler here. I mean, to me, that's the normal acceleration for a pickup truck. I'm not trying to break any 0 to 60 times or, you know, passing trucks like that. So it has a really healthy engine in my opinion. It's the gearing that really is the issue, because even if I supercharge this truck, I mean, it's still gonna be shift happy without re-gearing the truck. You're adding more horsepower to the engine, which is a whole nother topic, but the gearing is really what the truck needs. It needs new gears over the stock. Now, I am at around 65 miles an hour. We are in 6th gear because we are cruising at just over 2,000 RPM. So I know the truck is in 6th gear, and it's going to hold 6th gear even on flat ground. Now, going up hills, the truck will downshift to 5th gear, but it's a lot more pleasant because you don't really notice it as much. Going from 5th gear to 4th gear is a huge change in the RPM. As I mentioned earlier, you're going over 3,000 RPM, depending on the hill that you're going up. But going from 6th gear to 5th gear, sometimes I can't even feel it, or I can't even hear my exhaust, because it only jumps up a couple hundred RPM, still staying well below 3,000 RPM. Now I am going downhill right now, so it's going to hold where it is. So we're starting to climb up a small hill here. It's nothing crazy, but if I was running my stock gears right now with cruise control on, like 9 out of 10 times it would have already downshifted, and I'd be running 4th gear right now instead of 6th. So this is awesome. If you own a Tacoma and you experience this, comment down below and let me know, because hopefully you can tell how excited I am for this modification, because it's a lot more pleasant to drive. But I don't know why, I love how it's using 6th gear. Like, it's crazy to see that. I've had this truck almost 3 years now. I've put, I think I'm at almost 32,000 miles. And it's crazy to see the difference. Like, using 6th gear is something that the truck just never did. And so I would 100% recommend, if this is the only modification you ever want to do to your Tacoma, even if it's the 488s, re-gearing it is such a huge difference. Now, with re-gearing, I'm not sure how it's going to affect MPG. If I scroll down right now, I'm at 16.8, but when I did the re-gear, I was at a half tank, and now I'm at a half tank again because of, you know, how I filled up, and I haven't gone through a full cycle or a full tank yet. So if I get anywhere above 18.5, because usually I've been running the mid-18s depending on how I'm driving, if I get over 19, I will post on Instagram. I'll let you guys know. I will do updates. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, definitely do that, because I will make updates like I just said. But right now, we are coming up to another hill. I think this will be the last hill that I want to talk about, because this one is a lot steeper than the last hill. So I really hope the truck goes from 6th gear, where it is right now, to 5th gear. There we go. Under 3,000 RPM, we're running 5th gear right now. And it's not even crazy. Like, it's so cool. Every time I would come up to a hill, I'd shut cruise control off and do it myself, because I didn't want the truck shifting and going up to a crazy RPM. Now I do have to slow down because of traffic here, and we're still running 5th gear because we're slowing down here, but it's just so cool, you guys. It's hard to really convey how awesome that this mod is for the truck. I will be making another video towing, because I did tow our boat with the stock gears. I'm gonna give it another couple hundred miles or so before we hook the boat back up and tow again with the new gears, because I don't tow a lot, but I really wanna see if you wanna use your truck to tow, use your Tacoma to tow, is it going to help in situations like that? I got my fingers crossed that it's going to be a huge difference just based on the stock, you know, no weight on the truck right now. And then I'm also going to go off-road and hit the trails again and see if there's any performances off the pavement. But for right now, daily driving this, I have put a couple hundred miles on the truck already, and I love it. This is one of the best mods for the truck. I say that on a couple mods. But if you're looking for hopefully better MPG, but just a better drive, a smoother drive, less shifting for the automatic, re-gearing is definitely one of the best things that you can do for the truck. But I think that's going to wrap it up for talking about my first impressions, my initial reactions on the Nitro gears for the 3rd gen Tacoma. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you give it a huge thumbs up, smash that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.